You're 22.
You live in Tulsa, and you have a job that pays nothing. In 30 years, every person laughing at you tonight eats dinner at a table you own, behind a gate with its own zip code.
But not one of them.
Is the reason you make it. The reason is sitting 2 seats down, watching, and saying nothing. Watch how far a man will climb for 4 words his father can't get out of his mouth. Level 1. 0. Your job is the counter at your Uncle Roy's gas station, and the pay is experience.
Family doesn't charge family, he says.
That's true, but family doesn't pay family either. So you're really just volunteering at a Roy Fuel that still writes you up for clocking in late.
You're at the kids' table,
across from a 9-year-old cousin with a savings account and a girlfriend, and you have neither. Then Roy, 3 stations and a gold chain, flicks a $2 scratch-off onto your paper plate. There's your retirement, college boy.
The whole table laughs.
And the loudest laugh belongs to the man who owns the room. You scratch it, and you lose. The $2 are gone, spent in front of every cousin at the table.
See, Roy says,
even a scratch-off won't take a chance on you. In 30 years, that same man will beg you for money across a desk with his hands shaking.
But Roy was never the wound.
The wound is your father, saying nothing while his brother does this to you. You slide the dead ticket into your wallet like evidence, and you decide to build a table of your own. Level 2. 25,000. You taught yourself to code at 2 in the morning on a borrowed charger, and it lands you a junior job routing freight trucks across 3 states.
It pays barely a life after taxes,
but it's the first money that arrives on a schedule instead of by accident. You call your father from the parking lot before you've even backed out of the space.
He answers on the 4th ring,
the way he answers everything, like the phone owes him money. You wait for him to say he's proud, and what you get is a throat clear. Good, he says. That's good.
Then comes a pause,
long enough to drive a truck through. Don't let your uncle hear you bragging, he adds. That's the whole parade.
You take a co-worker to the Olive Garden
and leave a 22% tip you can't afford, so nobody thinks you're broke. She says the food is nice without looking up, and she never texts back.
You've stopped getting your card declined.
You haven't started getting chosen. There's a difference, and you feel it the whole drive home. Then one morning, your Corolla's check engine light, on for 2 years, is just off, and the oil's been changed, and there's no note. Your father did it at 6 in the morning before his own shift, on his knees, on your cold concrete, in the same work gloves he's worn your whole life. He can't say the words, but he can fix the car.
Level 3.
100,000. A promotion and a side project that quietly turned into income. 6 figures on paper for the first time in your life. So you buy a certified used BMW, financed over 60 months, longer than most of your relationships, and you tell no one. You park it 2 blocks from the duplex, in front of the Family Dollar, and hide it like a crime you're proud of.
It doesn't matter,
because the number finds its way home without you. Your mother announces it at church to a woman she doesn't even like, and drops it in the family group chat with a praying hands emoji. And at the next gathering, without a word, your place is simply set among the grown-ups. Years at the kids' table, commuted for good behavior. 4 days after the news makes the rounds, Cousin Vinny texts you. The same Vinny who skipped your graduation and hasn't sent a word in 2 years. Yo, bro, we gotta hang.
Then you overhear your mother in the kitchen,
low and proud, in a way she's never once been to your face. I think he's going to be bigger than Roy someday.
You look at your father,
and he heard it too, and he is not smiling. Roy is the brother who made it, and your father is the brother who didn't. and he stood in that shadow his whole life.
Roy feels the shift too.
He finds you by the cooler, not laughing for once. Tech money is fake money, he says. It comes fast and goes faster. He isn't warning you. He's afraid of you.
You go home
And frame the dead scratch-off on your desk. It used to be proof you'd never make it. Now it's the fuel. You stop wanting a seat at the adult table. You start wanting to own the building it stands in.
Level 4. 500,000.
The side project gets acquired by a company in Austin you'll never visit, and $500,000 is suddenly attached to your name.
The family rearranges itself around you
Like iron filings around a magnet. You stop being a person at gatherings, and you become an introduction. This is my son. He's doing very well. That's the whole sentence now.
The asks have grown up too.
200 till Friday is now, we need $5,000 for the roof, and it's nothing to you. That phrase turns a favor into an obligation, and it shrinks you down into a line item.
Then you do the big one.
You wire off your father's debt, the second mortgage, the truck note, the credit cards, the whole quiet weight a working man drags for 40 years. It's gone in an afternoon.
You expect him to cry.
You expect finally the words. He doesn't call for a week, and when he does, he doesn't mention it once. You took the one fight your father spent his whole life fighting, and you finished it for him in the time it takes to approve a transfer. You told him it was never that heavy. To a proud man, that isn't a gift. It's a verdict.
There is exactly one person
Who never asks you for $1. Your father still clocks in at Roy's station every morning at 6, in the gloves. You're worth $500,000, and you beg him to quit. A man works, he says.
Then your phone buzzes.
You've been added to a group chat called Family, with a heart. The first message before hello is a request. It isn't a chat, it's a queue, and you're standing at the front of it.
Level 5.
1 million. You didn't retire on the acquisition money. You started your own company, with a name on the door that's finally yours.
The asks
Stop being for roofs. They start being for ventures. Vinny slides you a one-page deck he built in Canva that morning, and the font is Comic Sans, and he calls it the Uber of something.
You say yes once.
But you have a real loan drawn up, with a repayment schedule and a signature line. Vinny signs it like you insulted his mother. We're family, he says. The paperwork is the betrayal, not the asking.
So you start saying no.
And the day you start saying no is the day you become the villain. You were the family failure for free. Charge interest once, and suddenly you're the bad guy.
You did change.
The love didn't curdle. The love was always conditional. The money just walked into the room and turned the lights on. You try once more to retire your father, and he refuses every cent. So you do the one thing he can never block. You buy the land under Roy's flagship on Interstate 44. The whole parcel, through a holding company 3 names deep.
Roy never reads who he writes the lease check to.
The brother who spent 30 years making your father feel like a tenant is now quietly paying rent to the nephew he handed a dead scratch off. That Thanksgiving, your relatives debate your money as if you've already left the room. You set your fork down. You go home. You don't go back. Level 6. 10 million. The company's scaled, and your calendar no longer has room for green bean casserole. So, the family built a way around your absence.
Your mother becomes the lobbyist.
Every request roots through her now, softened, delivered with, I told them I'd just ask. And when even her calls become too many, you hire an assistant in another time zone to screen them.
You buy your parents a house.
$900,000 in Roy's zip code with an HOA that has opinions about your trash cans. Your father lasts about a month before it turns on him. He mows the half-acre himself twice a week in the July heat, in his gloves, because hiring a kid would mean admitting he lives somewhere he can't afford. At a birthday, your 6-year-old nephew asks the only honest question anyone's put to you in years. Why does Grandpa still work at the gas station if you're rich? The room goes quiet, and somebody laughs too fast to cover it. Then Roy calls, warm in a way he's never once been. Just checking in on my favorite nephew. Roy Fuel is bleeding. A chain opened 2 exits down and undercut his pumps, and the bank is circling. Instead, you put your parents on a fixed monthly stipend, and the asks stop. You took a man who worked every day so he'd never have to ask anyone for anything, and you turned him into a direct deposit. Level 7. 1 billion. A growth round reprices the company, and the number on your equity crosses $1 billion. It's not cash, it's stock, a line on a cap table the world now treats as a fortune. So you build the machine that holds it. A family office, an estate attorney, a trust with your relatives named as beneficiaries. Love now requires paperwork to administer. One night, an in-law signs an NDA just to attend dinner at your home. Everybody in your bracket does this with relatives, your attorney says, without looking up. Especially relatives. And the math has quietly inverted. You're now worth more than every Roy Fuel station this family ever bowed to, combined. The head of your own table stopped being a fantasy, and it became a build date. Then Roy comes to see you alone. No Escalade out front, and no swagger in the doorway. The price war took 2 of his lots, and the bank is moving on the last one. He sits across the desk, and the man who handed a broke kid a scratch-off 30 years ago can't lift his eyes off the carpet. He needs a loan for the final lot, the flagship on Interstate 44. You already know something Roy doesn't. The dirt he's begging to save, you bought it years ago. He's been paying you rent and never knew. You write the check, no lecture, no interest, and slide it across the desk. On his way out, he stops at the wall, where the scratch-off is framed. He understands exactly what it is and how many years you kept it, where you'd see it every morning. You won the whole thing, your father's entire life taken back in one signature, and you feel nothing. Then your phone rings. It's your mother, crying, and for once, it isn't about money. Your father has collapsed. Level 8. 10 billion. You buy the whole hospital floor. You fly in specialists within hours. You have $10 billion, and you point every cent of it at one stubborn old man in a bed. And you learn the thing money spends a whole lifetime hiding from you. It does everything, and it changes nothing. $10 billion, and the best it buys is a nicer room to lose him in. While he sleeps, you take inventory. 2 assistants, a family office of 9, relatives on stipend, Vinny on a retainer. They are all warm to you, every single one. They are also, every single one, on a payroll. He wakes. He reaches for your hand, and his grip still has the callus, the one no amount of your money ever sanded off. He doesn't ask about the company. He doesn't ask about the number. He asks if you're happy. You, who can buy anything on earth, cannot afford to answer him honestly. So you lie. You say yes. He nods and lets it go. It's his last mercy. He dies on a Tuesday. His one request was that you clean out his locker at the station yourself. The richest man in the state, standing in the back room of a gas station in front of a metal locker, held shut with a combination he never changed. Inside are the gloves, a thermos, and his wallet. You open it. Behind a cracked photo of you at 8 years old, folded soft, is a printout. The day your company passed Roy Fuel, he printed it at the library and carried it every day. On the back, in pencil, in the only handwriting you'd know anywhere, are 2 words. We won. Not you. We. The pride was never missing. It just never made the trip from his chest to your face.
Level 9.
100 billion. The years after he died, you poured into the only place the ache ever went quiet, which was the work. Your share alone is worth $100 billion. Years later, you host the family at your estate, at a table long enough to seat every one of them, in a house they need a code at the gate to enter. Every one of them checks the seating chart for how close they landed to the host. There's one chair at the long table you leave empty every year, and only you know who it's for. You became the head of the table they swore you'd never reach, and they still orbit the number, not you. Off to the side, there's a kids' table, and at it sits a broke 22-year-old cousin, talking too loud about an app nobody believes in, catching the same pitying smiles you used to catch. You are watching yourself at 22. So you get up. You pull out a worn pair of work gloves, his gloves, the ones from the locker, the ones you've carried since the funeral, and you put them on. You walk to the kids' table, pull out a chair built for 10-year-olds, and you sit down on purpose. You set the framed, dead $2 scratch-off in front of the kid. He'll understand it the day he needs to. Then you say the 4 words your father carried his whole life and never once got out. You say them quiet, to a broke kid who reminds you of no one so much as yourself. I'm proud of you. You spent $100 billion to learn it was always going to be 4 words, and a man who couldn't say them. For the first time in 30 years, nobody at this table is counting you, and the one man who never did isn't here to see it.